365 Radio. Our weekly segment with Baylor Director of Athletics Mack Rhoades is brought to you by Edward Jones Investments Brokers, Tom Albers, Brad Wilson, Ben Erlinson, and Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
All right, it's 4 o'clock hour. Baylor's Director of Athletics Mack Rhoades joins. Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina, David Smoak, Jack McKenzie runs the mothership. And Mack, thank you for your time. Obviously, it's a huge time right now for Scott and his program, trying to bounce through a lot of the adversity that they have. And you're a basketball guy. You understand what they're dealing with. Your thoughts right now of what you see, and is it just, as we've mentioned or asked some of the analysts, that the fact that they just are worn down with the injuries?
Yeah, I don't know that it's anything more than that. I think it's the injuries, and I think lack of a consistent lineup because of injuries. There's just a struggle right now in terms of just a rhythm of playing together, a set rotation, and so it's all things that we'll overcome. And I truly mean this and believe it, that there's no better person in the country, no better basketball coach in the country that deals with adversity and with injury and tweaking and finding ways to continue to be relevant and to play well. And obviously, the Kansas game, that hurt. But that's one of those games where I think you flush it and you move on. And we'll have a great opportunity against a really good team tomorrow night at Kansas State. And I expect us to come out and play better. Obviously we got to play a lot better from the guard position. We've seen what James can do and what Adam can do. And because of, their injuries, they've been inconsistent, but they'll get their feet back underneath them and begin to play at a really, really high level. And then, hopefully we can get LJ back, and, Dale's got to step up and continue to get better. And I think if, there's a blessing in all of this, I think this makes us stronger for the home stretch and when we think about the NCAA tournament.
Do you think about things the way I do? I mean, I just told Jim Haller this. When Kentucky did to Kansas what they did in the Fog a week ago, I thought that's not going to be good for anybody, because that's just the law of averages tells you that Kansas isn't going to do that twice in a row.
Yeah, no, the law of averages, and the law of averages work when you have a Hall of Fame coach and you've got top five talent. So, again, it was one of those games where, man, we just didn't start well, and they got off to a big jump and never let off the gas pedal. And, Kansas is a team that could make a run to the Final Four. And I still believe this. When we're healthy, I think we're one of the best four teams in the country. So we need to hang in there, gut it out, grind it out until we get all of our pieces back, and we'll be ready to go.
Mack, this is a way off topic from basketball, but an outside of the actual on-the-field stories, which it seems like college football is filled with those on almost a daily basis. But the National College Players Association filed a unfair labor practice charge against the NCAA, the Pac-12, UCLA, USC, basically looking for college athletes to become full-time employees, wanting the goal is to have, full-time employee status for college players. It specifies football and Division I basketball at private and public institutions. How much is this kind of a story on the radar of college athletics officials, like so many other things are? And what are your thoughts on a lawsuit and the potential of full-time employment for college athletes in those sports?
Yeah, so Craig, I appreciate the the question. And I mean, there's so much going on with college athletics right now, and we've talked about it obviously on this show, but certainly, the intersection of name, image, and likeness and the transfer portal has everybody on their toes, and certainly trying to navigate, and then this piece, on whether or not student athletes are employees. And we talked about it. I think it was maybe 3 months ago, where the GC of the National Labor Relations Board, the NLRB, talked about student athletes being employees. And there's a part of me that says, hey, this movement is, hey, we're trying to come up with rights for student athletes, and the only way we can potentially do that is to deem them employees. And again, I don't know, Craig, that at the end of the day, that's going to be in the best interest of our student athletes. There's a lot of stuff that goes with that if you become an employee, and so I don't know. We'll see how this moves forward. But if you can imagine that student athletes become employees, and just our scholarship agreements, contracts are, anytime, one enters the transfer portal, is that a human resource issue? There's just a lot there to think about. And, I don't know that that's going to be in the best interest of our student athletes.
Mack, there was the deal with Louisiana Tech that that game is no longer on your non-conference schedule. And unfortunately, I think you were supposed to play them even last year, and the game, of course, canceled because of COVID. Have you made a decision on who replaces them on your schedule?
Yeah, we have, and I appreciate the question. And the only reason why we haven't announced it is because the contract hasn't been signed completely. I think I know that on our end we've signed it, and I think we're waiting, or just in the process of it becoming fully executed. And once that happens, we'll announce. But it's an FCS opponent, and we were obviously intentional about that when we think the game right before having to head to Provo and play against a really, really good BYU team, a team that's going to be expected to be really, really good. And then the other piece of it is just the following year not having to get on a plane and play a group of five. And have to have a plane ride to do that, having to go to Ruston. We think that there's plenty of great group of fives within the state of Texas that we can bus to, our fans can bus to, and so all of that was certainly part of the decision.
Is the FCS team in Texas?
No, it is not, and just because of the timing of everything, Smoak. They're slim pickings in terms of who we could get.
Okay.
Our preference, would be in the future. Obviously, our preference would be to play FCS in the state of Texas, but just nothing available at this juncture.
So you're dodging my alma mater, SFA, again.
What we're going to say is that it's an FCS school in the United States, which we can confirm.
Yes, you can. Yeah, that would be accurate.
There we go.
Is it in the South?
I'm just Mack. I was reading an article about
next question.
Yeah, about NIL laws, and in particular the one in Florida, where the schools in Florida are trying to get it amended because according to their law, schools cannot help facilitate NIL deals, and the athletic directors of the schools in that state feel that that's hindering them because especially their neighboring states, Alabama and Georgia, don't have that same regulation in their law. Is that something that should be, is the Florida law right and the Alabama and Georgia law wrong, or where should this be in schools helping people facilitate NIL deals?
Well, I think it's a great question, and I think I can speak out of both sides of my mouth on this one. I think the Florida law certainly is more conservative and very similar to the Texas law. And you think about Florida, and you even think about Alabama, where they're wanting to eliminate their law. One of the biggest reasons isn't necessarily from state to state comparative, but it's because they're more restrictive than the NCAA legislation, and you've got to follow your state law. And so you're starting to see some states like Florida, like Alabama, wanting to repeal that law. Now, your question, should the schools be involved in it? I would feel a little bit better if we were involved and had a little bit more control, just when we think about just the compliance issues, and your imagination can run wild when you think about years ago and boosters and board of regents and all of those things. And so if I had my way, I'd like for us to be a little bit more involved in it. But you can certainly talk about the other side of it as well. So hey, welcome to college athletics 2022. And we're going to need some normality to this here in the near future. And again, we've talked about it, so it sounds like a broken record, but federal legislation, it could be really helpful and it could be harmful, but you're probably still 14 months away from that. And I think the biggest question is, can the NCAA do anything in the meantime when we think about name, image, and likeness and the transfer portal? Because here's what's going on. All we're doing right now, and when I say we, I'm talking about college athletics, is buying players. That's all we're doing.
Mac, NIL-wise, I saw where Florida's a recent school that will start selling name jerseys. Like, you can buy, like, the quarterback's jersey, whereas, it used to be the generic number, and you just, hey, that's who that guy is. But now you can actually have the names on the back. I've seen some other schools that have signed up for that here over the last year as well. Have you had any discussions about doing that with Baylor athletes?
Yeah, no, we have, and we're certainly in the process of discussing that. When name, image, and likeness, when we knew it was coming, we put together a working group, name, image, and likeness 1.0, and we had 3 buckets to it, and felt like we were certainly in really good shape in terms of anticipation. And right now we've got 307 name, image, and likeness deals.
Wow.
Our student athletes, and so that's a big number. And that's as good a number as there is, we believe, in the country, and better than most. And so what we've done recently then is now formulate a name, image, and likeness working group 2.0, and beginning to look at some other things like names on jerseys, Craig, and so we're in discussion. We're in discussion with a company. I can't tell you; it's probably too early to say. Hey, it's definitive. You're going to see that, but it's in process for us and some other things when we think about this 2.0 working group.
Mac, I was curious. I was just looking around randomly the other day, and I came across an old article I'd bookmark on the TV rights for conferences. And, you got in 2024, I know the Pac-12 comes up, but there's a couple of conferences in 2023, the Big Ten being one of those. And also, I think there's one more that might be. When you guys in the Big 12 are discussing your future TV rights and the future of the conference and all that, do you feel like the Big 12 coming up right after a couple of other major conferences is any kind of a hindrance? Is that part of the discussion at all? Like, all the money is spent before you guys get your turn at the table. Like, kind of where are y'all in terms of trying to predict the future and knowing that there's, a big contract or a big deal to be signed potentially in the next 3-4 years?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And as you mentioned, when you think about Power 5 conferences, the Big 10 2023, Pac-12 2024, and then the Big 12 2025. The other piece of this is the CFP, and is a deal ever made prior to 2026, and how much money does that take up in the system, or does it take up really any money, because we've got new players in the market, right? It's not just ESPN, it's not just Fox when we think about linear TV. It could be NBC Sports, it could be Turner, Time Warner, several others, and so I think we all anticipate that there'll probably be more in the linear space. To answer your question directly, I think the Big Ten is going to garner a lot of attention in terms of their TV deal, and it's half of their TV deal that's up, and so then the Pac-12. It'll be interesting to see where they land. They still have the same inherent challenges, which is time zone. And so limited audience, national audience because of time zone. And so I think by the time, we get to the Big 12, there's still going to be enough interested parties, enough, money in the system, available for the Big 12. I also think that the Big 12 has great momentum right now. When you think about just this past football season, and Oklahoma State and Baylor, the champ game, second highest attendance, the ratings for that game, blowing away the ACC game, and a lot better than the Pac-12, and then both teams winning New Year's Six bowl games, and then the rest of the league. And so there's great momentum as well. So, but it's all part of the conversation, and it's all part of the strategy as we think about how we best move forward. So it's a great question, and there's a lot of moving pieces to it.
And they'll add this and a follow up and close it out. I know you got to go as well. Is that it seems like a lot of any discussion about 2023 you guys reacted. You got it done. You stabilized the conference. And anything after that seems to have been on the back burner. Is that because of the college football playoff expansion not being able to get past wherever they are? Is that something that still could be on the horizon?
And Smoak, I apologize. I'm not sure I quite understood, but when you think, are you talking about just adding additional teams?
Yes.
Or
yes.
Yeah. I just, this is, let me be clear. This is just my personal opinion. Right now, I don't see it. Economically, I just don't see how it makes sense today. Now, look, things could change 12 months from now, 24 months from now. But when you think about the question Craig just talked about and TV, I just, who are the other teams that we add that we remain whole and we don't, lose percentage and per institution in terms of the revenue. So that's my opinion. I don't see it right now. But again, you never say never when you think about conference realignment.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Mack Rhoades, Director of Athletics at Baylor, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. And now that is that's one AD among 10, and then he's not the commissioner, but obviously a part of that expansion committee, along with Kirby Hocutt, and I think the AD Taylor as well, among a couple of others. But that does sound like, and it has calmed down. It's really, really calmed down. I spoke with an AD today earlier who was a part of the discussion about possible the next level. And he just said, I think if anything, maybe something starts to possibly simmer again sometime, but in the spring, but he hasn't heard anything at all for a few months.
Yeah, it's been. You're the guy with the sources, and we are just privy to what that person has passed along to you, which was all the stuff during the summer last summer and all of the 4 editions and all of that jazz. And then I know that there was a second wave that he had mentioned, but yeah, there's been little to nothing on our end and as far as that goes. And quite frankly, it was an old article at Bookmark, and I was going through just cleaning up stuff, and came across that, and I was like, shoot, man, that's like, the Big 12's got to like wait in line behind 2 more. I don't know. It just dawned on me like, man, that's going to be tough because they're losing OU and Texas. And I know this has all been talked about when we were going through this the first time around, but just, revisiting it. And I tend to agree with him. I know you threw out the possibility of SMU, USF, Memphis, and Boise. But when I was looking at those TV contracts, and you look at the SEC, and they're going to obviously have like $1 trillion deal with the additions of Oklahoma and Texas, that makes sense. Like, they're going to get more money because of those 2 schools, even though they already get the most money anyways, and along with the Big Ten. The Big Ten's about to cash in a major, major way. The Pac-12, that will be very interesting to see like what they're regarded as, because I put them kind of in the same camp as the Big 12 at the moment. But in looking at those numbers, it's like, okay, if the Big 12 is making like 20 per, and you can expect a decrease because you're going to lose OU and Texas, and then you hope the additions like boost it up a little bit more, like you're hoping to break even basically and get back to where you were. So I was just having a really hard time in revisiting this, seeing where adding anybody that's not a part of a major conference right now is going to actually increase your average team total, and that's ultimately what you're looking at. Like the SEC schools are making $40 million per year. They're going to start making like 65 cents. Yeah. I mean, they're going to be like doubling most other major conferences once the OU and Texas effect take hold. And if you're the Big 12, you're just trying to hold on to what you got right now. I don't know where there's not any attractive options out there. Like, as fun as it is to think about like what SMU could be or what this school could be and try to be on the cutting edge. Right now, though, it's not helping.
The only way those other schools can get involved is if they get involved in the television conversations and somebody says, but we want another 200 or 300 options of content.
Well, and
what we've said basically from the beginning.
No, that's what you've always said.
It's not going to be. Look, if they're making $35 million a year, if they can keep it at 30, per team, then the loss is not that great. Now, what was looked at right away
one of the reasons is because not only that, but also the stability factor of a new TV deal.
But what they were looking at, if they didn't do anything at all, was going from 35 to 8.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
11, 12. Yeah.
No, they had to do something. No, there's no doubt about that. I just, in terms of like getting greedy and going for even more, there were plenty of people that had questions the first time around, and I know who you're, the info comes from, and it's legit. But I just, in looking back at those cable or those TV deals, it's just, like does any matchup of anybody not in a power conference right now really seduce
Rock
like
your boat.
TV executives? And the answer is not really no.
The Pac-12 has never really been able to do anything with their new TV network or their own network. That has slowed things down. The college football playoff is stuck in neutral.
A big part of it.
That's a big deal as well. The alliance, that's a big deal as well.
Yep.
And we still don't know about Texas and Oklahoma, what year it actually will be, whether 22, 23, 24, or even 25. When we come back, Craig